I'd like to call to order the August 24th meeting of the Shelby Township Planning Commission. Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Commissioner Dallo.
Here.
Commissioner DeSico.
Here.
Commissioner Bernardi.
Here.
Commissioner Turner.
Here.
Commissioner Apone.
Here.
Commissioner Vire.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. If there are no corrections, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is the approval of the minutes from the August 10th meeting. Again, if there are no corrections, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Support.
Moved, supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, this evening we have 3 site plans we'll be considering. All 3 of them are public hearings. So we'll begin with the first one, site plan number 14-03, special land use number 1, Mitchell Foster, regarding the auto pallets outdoor storage. And I'll ask the Secretary to read the notices published.
Yes, Charter Township of Shelby notice of public hearing. The applicant is Auto Pallets Boxes Incorporated, 28,000 Southfield Road, Lathrop Village, Michigan, 48076. The proposed usage is outdoor storage. The location is Hamlin Road, south side of Hamlin, west of Ryan Road. The site plan number 14-03 SLU-1, modified site plan. The Planning Commission will meet on Monday, August 24th, 2015 at 7 p.m. in the Shelby Municipal Building, 52700 Van Dyke, Shelby Township, Michigan, for the purpose of holding a public hearing on the special land use application. The application for special land use and the site plan may be examined at the Planning and Zoning Department in the Municipal Building Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5 p.m. Written comments may be submitted to the Planning Commission at the above address prior to the hearing. Oral comments will be heard during the public hearing. This notice is provided pursuant to the requirements of the Michigan Public Act 110 of 2006 as amended. Shelby Township Planning Commission, Jerome Moffitt, Chair, Raquel Moore, Secretary. 15 property owners and 3 applicants were notified by first-class mail on August 5th, 2015.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kirk, did the publication meet all legal requirements?
Yes, it did.
Okay. Can you explain the uses under the present zoning and if this special land use request is appropriate to the district?
The current zoning is light manufacturing. This is a existing special land use, which is now being asked to be modified. It is a proper request under the ordinance with regard to this type of use.
Great, thank you. Madam Secretary, did we receive any correspondence regarding this request?
No, we did not.
Okay, thank you. Format for the public hearing will be as follows. The petitioner or representative will give a presentation stating the reasons for the request. Commissioners may then ask questions of the petitioner. The floor will be open to the public, and then finally the petitioner will be allowed to make concluding remarks. At this time, I request that the petitioner or representative come up and introduce themselves and state the reasons for the request. So what they're requesting and the reasons for it.
Good evening. I'm Phil Ruggieri on behalf of the petitioner. As you'll recall, we had this special land use request several months ago, and it was granted. It involved only 4 acres of land out of the 44 acres. Since that time, my client has sold off is under a pending sale. He's selling off 33 acres of the 44. He now has 11 acres remaining, and that's the remaining property that does exist, and we find little or no use for that remaining parcel of land. So it's our request to add the remaining 7 acres to the 4 that we had the special land use approval for, to give us 11 acres of the pallet operation. The engineer, Jim Jones, had outlined what the new configuration would consist of and how the format would lay out. And as you can see, it's very consistent with what we had in the past. It's just a little more expanded. And we request that we'll be allowed to go ahead and expand our special land use to allow for the remaining 11 acres. That's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Okay. Now, a question, is any of that property part of the construction fill that was put into the exposed water table there?
Yeah, that I have no knowledge of. In that back area, it's not suitable, as we remember from the past, for any type of major construction. It's not conducive for industrial development of any kind.
That I don't doubt. But my question is, it's suitable for the storage for truck traffic and the storage of those pallets on that side?
To the best of my knowledge, it is. I can't answer that without the engineer being present to answer that.
Your engineer's not here.
He's not here today. He cannot make it.
Okay. Yeah, that's, were there any soil borings done?
I believe on
In that-
the original 4 acres, I know we had the soil borings
Yeah,
conducted.
that wasn't a concern because that didn't encroach into that other property where that activity occurred, but not on the new piece that you're addressing this evening.
This kind of came up suddenly on all of us. I mean, my client, all of a sudden, he's selling off 33 acres, and then he wants to use the remaining 7, and I don't have enough knowledge of that
Okay.
soil consistency.
Okay. Tell you what, I'm going to ask Mr. Winda for his comments.
Mr. Ruggiero did a good job of kind of framing where we are now. I think there are 3 major concerns with the site. Number one is the arrangement of the pallets, and that's a public safety issue because if there was a fire back there, you want to make sure there's a clear path to get back there. If somebody was injured, the pallets fell, I think it'd be hard for emergency vehicles to get back there. Related to that is we want to make sure that the condition of the surface of that is sufficient that it could support an emergency vehicle. And I think for the first part of it, we're comfortable with that. And the third is kind of more generic, and it's what does this look like from the road? And, Mr. Ruggiero is right. I don't think this site could support any buildings because of the fill, but we do now need to go back and just validate some of those other conditions. From a use standpoint, I don't have any objection to that. It's just that Mr. Ruggiero and I have been working with the applicant to get him to, I think, recognize the urgency of doing this. And up till this point, I don't think he's understood that. For example, we had a deadline of October 31st, and I would feel at least comfort if we're going to move forward with this to at least have that landscaping done along the road frontage, this fall, because I think that's feasible to get that done, clean it up, shape it, and plant it at least. Again, I don't have any objection with this moving forward, but I do think we need to maybe sit down with Mr. Ruggiero's client and have him understand the urgency of making progress and the public safety issues that are here. When we went back on that site, I'd hate to see what happened if there was a fire back there.
Yeah.
And that's very flammable. So those are my comments. And there's some specific comments in here that are related to those general sort of broad observations.
Okay. To the board, any questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Turner.
Mr. Ruggiero, do you see they would be able to make the October 31st deadline to get those improvements as far as at least the landscaping along Hamlin?
I think it's appropriate that he at least get the landscaping underway. I don't see a problem with that issue. As far as the rest of it, now that he's expanded it by 7 acres, it's 11 versus 4. I don't think he's going to have it done by the 31st. All of it, the conditions being met. My suggestion is we have him do the frontage landscaping, get that out of the way. That shows good faith effort that he's progressing. And then maybe we tack on a little bit of time if we're going to go forward with the other 7 acres in accordance with that plan. And then that's it. And give him a cutoff date and be done with it.
Well, the west side of the property where you had the pile of pallets, those you had indicated last time were going to be moved off of site. Is that correct?
I believe most of that has been done.
Okay.
I think he's gotten rid of all the pallets that were remaining over there. And I think he's worked with Tim Wood about the building itself. But having the configuration and the surface layout for the vehicles, I don't know if that's been done yet.
Chairman?
Mr.
One thought, maybe we would ask him to give us some measurable timeframes. You divide the site up into components. Here's Sector A, and we get that done by a certain date, then Sector B, because this is like eating an elephant, like one bite at a time. And it's probably overwhelming. It's overwhelming just to administer this, but maybe we could find a way to do that, say, well, let's get some measurable progress by these dates.
I guess I would feel more comfortable maybe postponing this tonight, this evening, until we can get a realistic sort of something that we can follow through, and also have an opportunity for the engineer, for you to consult with the engineer,
Just the soil content.
to make sure that it can support the emergency vehicles, and the last thing we want is that eroding into the exposed water table.
Chairman, I'd be happy to meet with Mr. Ruggiero, then we could ask our fire department to go out and visit the site to look at if they say, look, we can get a vehicle back here, then I'm not worried about it.
I think I'll meet with Glenn, get some time frames,
Yeah.
lay it all out, and then in the meantime, we could have the soil borings conducted,
That'd be great.
because I think that will satisfy some of the
Maybe
concerns.
impress upon your client too that when we establish deadlines,
They have to be met.
They have to be met, at least to show some movement. I mean, there's really virtually nothing been done since the last, and now he wants to expand.
Quite honestly, I haven't
I
been
think,
to
I
the
think, I think
site.
we're being, more than fair and,
No, I appreciate that. There's no question the board's been more than accommodating, to say the least. I appreciate it. So we'll table it to the next meeting. Is that the plan?
For the next available meeting, we'll work and see what's a reasonable schedule, Mr. Ruggieri. I'm happy to
Okay.
do that.
So I'm going to allow the public, if anyone from the public to comment, because maybe there'll be some other issues that we didn't think of. This is the only public hearing the Planning Commission will hold on this special land use request. All remarks will be entered into the record for Township Board evaluation. We are a recommending body, and the Township Board will evaluate our recommendation, which is the legislative body. The Township Board will make the final decision on the special land use request. At this time, anyone from the audience is welcome to come up and ask any questions or offer their opinions, favorable or otherwise. Does anyone here wish to address this? Going once, going twice. Okay, back to the board. I'll now entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, this evening, our recommendation must be based on the following: compatibility with adjacent land uses, consistent with and promote the intent and purpose of the special land use, compatibility with the natural environment, consistent with capacities of public services and facilities affected by the proposed use, protect the public health, safety, and welfare, and the adequacy of public access to the site. We may recommend approval, disapprove the request, or table it to evaluate it further. And at this point, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Turner.
I'll move to postpone action on special land use application number 14-03 SLU2 for auto pallets to give the applicant time to come up with a time frame for improvements to the site and to make sure soil borings are done to confirm emergency vehicle access to the rear, and we'd postpone until the next available meeting.
Okay, is there support?
Support.
Okay, moved by Turner, support by DeSico. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner Turner.
Yes.
Commissioner DeSico.
Yes.
Commissioner Dalu.
Yes.
Commissioner Bernardi.
Yes.
Commissioner Casale.
Yes.
Commissioner Vire.
Yes.
Commissioner Pone.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks.
Good night. Okay, next item is site plan number 15-35, Michael Magnoli, Stonecrest of Washington LLC. This too is a public hearing, and so I'll ask the secretary to read the publication as printed.
Yes, the Charter Township of Shelby Notice of Public Hearing. The applicant is Michael Magnoli, Stonecrest of Washington LLC, 59227 Van Dyke, Washington, Michigan, 48094. The proposed use is Deanna Court Site condominiums, 9 detached single-family condominium units. The location is 8739 Devon Drive, south of 23 Mile Road, east of Van Dyke. The legal description. The Planning Commission will meet on Monday, August 24th, 2015 at 7 p.m. in the Shelby Municipal Building, 52700 Van Dyke, Shelby Township, Michigan, for the purpose of holding a public hearing on the site condominium application. The application for the site condominiums may be examined at the Planning and Zoning Department in the municipal building Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5. Written comments may be submitted to the Planning Commission at the above address prior to the hearing. Oral comments will be heard during the public hearing. This notice is provided pursuant to the requirements of Michigan Public Act 110 of 2006 as amended. Shelby Township Planning Commission, Jerome Moffett, Chair, Raquel Moore, Secretary. 52 property owners and 3 applicants were notified by first-class mail on August 5th, 2015.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kirk, did the publication meet all legal requirements?
Yes, it did.
Okay, thank you. Madam Secretary, did we receive correspondence on this request?
Yes, we did receive 2 pieces. The first from Mr. Joel Baller, writing with concerns on the detention pond and questioning the design of the stormwater runoff, and also his concern with the removal of the 25 to 35 trees without any replacement trees or vegetation. And the other piece of correspondence was from Marvin Finn, and his concerns are the lot setbacks, and particularly the side lot setback. He's concerned that granting the rezoning without specific site plan could result in a change of plan. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. On the one issue, I'm going to defer to Mr. Nguyen, just because it's somewhat of a technical nature. His concern was with that there was a difference between platted subs and site condos in terms of side yard setbacks and any setbacks.
Right.
You wanna
They're actually,
address
they're the same. We treat these as no different than we would a normal single-family subdivision. No change in density. The setbacks are the same as they were for a single family. Just the only difference is how the title is conveyed to the property as a condo versus a lot, typical subdivision lot. So
Okay.
it's a fair concern, a good question, but it won't affect this development.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, our format for the public hearing this evening will be as follows. The petitioner or representative will give a presentation stating the reasons for the request. Commissioners may then ask questions of the petitioner. The floor will be then open to the public, and then the petitioner will be allowed to make any concluded remarks. At this time, is the petitioner represented here? If I could get your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Bill Thompson from Lanier Associates, representing the petitioner on this property. The site is rather irregularly shaped. It's at the end of Deanna Court, or Deanna Drive, and it actually has a little bit of frontage on Devon Drive. Here's Deanna. The property is shaped like this. It's part of a larger parcel, which included that piece right there. We're in the process of splitting that off, and application has been made to make the lot split. The parcel's cut by a gas main that cuts through here, making it difficult to do a conventional type layout. I believe we're meeting all the township requirements. There's one lot that Glenn pointed out that's, I don't know, my math is getting shaky apparently because I missed it by 100 feet. It's 12,866 instead of 12,960. But we've met all the other requirements. We're making use of the 10% lot averaging deal because of the gas main cutting through here. We have 3 very large lots. The rest of these are all 81 feet and better, and with the exception of that one, which that can be resolved easily by making it a foot wider. They all meet the requirements of the ordinance. The site, the ground the area over here is a lot higher than the ground area over here. We've located a detention basin, which is required in this area. The only problem is our storm sewer outlet is up here. So we have to get the water from there to there somehow or other. We have to pass underneath the gas main. The gas main causes some serious problems because we have to cross it with storm sewer and water and sanitaries and sanitary sewer. Other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. The developer is proposing to put, obviously, single-family homes on there, 2,000, 2,400, 2,800 square feet, brick construction, compatible with what's in the neighborhood.
Okay. Mr. Nguyen, I'm going to ask you to ask your questions now,
Sure.
if you don't mind.
The one comment related to the lot averaging, and one of the lots is just below that. It's easy to address that. Typically, when we have single-family developments, we want to see a side entry garage plan so we know which side the garage doors are going to be opened. And the question, I think most of the questions I had and the engineer had that may affect design of the site related to the rear yard storm drain plan, which would require more tree removal than is normally necessary. You may recall that last time when we had that site on Shane or at 24 Mile Road, Brampton, that they were able to do stormwater drainage alongside lot lines to eliminate that. Because it does, you're taking your most sensitive natural feature and kind of obliterating it. And if there may not be any other solution to that, but if there's some other engineering solution, we'd like to explore that. The engineer made a similar comment in her review. She also noted that portions of the area for the construction of the detention basin units 8 and 9, units 8 and 9, may have some wetland impact. So that would need to be flagged if there is. And then she asked for more information regarding the potential stormwater management system and plan. So again, that may take some redesign or it may affect the design. I mean, overall, you may recall this came in for rezoning earlier this year, asking for reduction in lot size from R1B to R1C. This maintains the R1B lot size, and there's no outlet to Devon Drive. It comes in Deanna and cul-de-sac. So I think in the revision, they address many of the concerns that were raised during that public hearing on the rezoning.
Okay, thank you. The reason I'd also ask Mr. Nguyen, because I know that seems to be the most sensitive issue of what you're proposing is, have you considered, unique ways to drain that, or is that, rather than the standard, tear all the trees down, put the drain in the backyard and run it right down there, because really the largest stand of trees run, along that eastern border of the property.
And
Sure,
looking,
wait,
yeah, there are other ways to do it besides taking all the trees down. Like I said, we have to tap the storm sewer here. We could come down here this way to get to the street and cross here, then try to drain the pond into here. I don't know if that would work physically, but it would save the trees along the side here. That's possible.
I think,
And also the rear yards, there are no trees in this area.
no, I understand.
So I don't think a rear yard storm sewer is a problem there.
No.
And we do propose
And
a ton
Mr.
of
Nguyen
trees.
said sites, lots 8 and 9, so we know what we're looking at. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Okay. Thank you. This is the only public hearing the Planning Commission will hold on this subdivision approval request. All remarks will be entered into the record for Township Board evaluation. We are recommending body, and the Township Board will evaluate our recommendation, which is the legislative body. The Township Board will make the final decision on the subdivision application. This time, anyone from the public is free to come and offer their opinions or speak in favor or against. I would just need your name and address, and make sure you sign in too, please.
Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is Joel Baller. I live at 5033 Heatherwood Lane, which is going to be the backyard of right near where the detention pond is laid out. I'll try to be brief because that was my main concern with this, and it sounds like the Planning Commission, I was the one that emailed as well, and it sounds like you guys are understanding where my concerns are coming from as well as the planner, Mr. Nguyen. My concern is that it looks like by studying the site plan, that 25 to 35 large trees would be removed, and in return, my detention pond would be dropped in that place. And and I understand it's a township requirement for the detention pond, and this might be the lowest part of the land. But my thing is that there should be a little bit out of the box thinking instead of, as the chairman said, just cutting a hole and placing it in with the, removing all the trees. In studying this, there's a bunch of, naturalization that could be done that incorporates the large trees in the land along with planting replacement trees. And Farmington Hills and many other communities make this a requirement for their new developments. And they understand that a tree is like one of the greatest resources for stormwater management. A tree can suck up 100 gallons a day, thousands of gallons a year, just one single tree. And there's many, many, many mature, large oak trees, hickory trees, maple trees on this portion of the property that are scheduled to be taken down and on the site plan not listed to be replaced at all. The developer did place replacement trees as you go north along that boundary, running the sewer to tap into the Deanna Lane storm sewer, and a couple of replacement trees there, but no replacement trees were listed for the detention pond area right there. So I would ask that the developer, working with the planning department and engineer, work out some kind of alternative that can incorporate nature's stormwater removal, if you will, as along with the man-made to accommodate that structure. I don't think that chopping down large trees and digging a hole, I think it circumvents what nature's already got in place at that lot right there. Between the leaves on the trees, filtering the water, and the trees themselves sucking the water up, removing them, it just doesn't make much sense to me. And for instance, on another example, if you look on the site plans, you got the trees 1962, 65, 63, 67, 71, and 72. just by creatively moving that detention pond to the west 20, 30 feet would save those 6 very large mature trees. Again, I'm just, I hate to be the person up here saying not in my backyard. As the petitioner mentioned, a lot of the area on this development has no trees. So I'm just asking to be sensitive to the portion of the lot that has the trees and not wipe them out when 85% of the development has 0 trees. So I asked that the Planning Commission take that into account. I asked the Planning Commission to take into account the tree removal ordinance that says, obviously that if there's no feasible or prudent location alternative for the proposal, to take the tree down, then the tree shouldn't come down. So I'd ask that be taken care of or taken into account. Lastly, the groundwater table in that area. I don't know if that's been, I'm sure the engineers all over it, but the groundwater table in that area, in my area, my pump runs constantly. It's a very, very high, and I think you lived in near the area. It's very high groundwater right there. And my other concern is that if we do the conventional dig out on this, that as you go a couple feet, 3-4 feet down, you're going to start tapping into water, and it's going to start seeping up naturally with a spring. And instead of becoming a detention pond, it's going to be a retention pond. And then that adds to other issues. So I think that's something that should be taken into account while we're at this beginning stage as far as how to manage this, this very high, very, very high groundwater table. I venture to say it's 4 feet in areas. And I believe that concludes my remarks on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to comment?
Here representing the lady that lives at Devon Drive, about 6 houses west of where I believe this is going in. And
Can I get you to speak into the microphone? And can I get your name, too?
the lot she has there is,
Show your name and address.
my name is William Strable, and the address I'm talking about is on Devon Drive. It's about six blocks down, or 6 houses down. It's 8373 Devon. It's, like I say, probably 6 houses to the west.
Okay.
And in that area there are her lot, along with the lot next door, are 2 long lots that go almost all the way to 23 Mile Road. They're not suitable for anything but growing grass and spending 3 hours a week cutting it. Adjacent to her property going west is a large area of trees. I believe the property belongs to the Kroger people that had that Kroger store in there, part of that shopping center. People, the planning people would know what that area is. And that's pretty much all they're landlocked. So that would help address his problem of more trees. But the concern that she had is her property has been deemed unsuitable for her to put any condominiums in because it's residential. This is just 9 doors down the street from her. And she said, well, how can they put condominiums there if I can't? She came here 20 years ago with her husband, and they've been living there in that house. Her husband's deceased, and she's a widow there living there now. And the concern is the winter and summer. This house next door to her has just got a variance to put in a 3-car garage. And it was the footings, the cement, the construction. It's beautiful now that it's done, but this tears up the street while that's going on. Where it's going to happen to all the construction over the winter and summer?
Well, actually, it won't affect Devon because there's no road access to this site from Devon.
So is this going to have to be, in other words, the access to this condominium complex is going to be down Devon Drive?
No, it's through...
23 Mile?
No, well, through Deanna Court and through...
Well, there's a different road in there that they can get in and out to. So that will not be coming in and out of the Devon. It's just north of Devon Street. Okay, that answers that question. Okay. All right, that's what her concern. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Douglas Basher, 8545 Devon Drive. This really stinks, this whole thing. The guy's a sneak. I asked you about condos the last meeting we were at. You told me no condos were even going in there. There was all single-family homes. Now all of a sudden I'm back again. Now there's condos going in. So And this is just,
It's a single-family home.
see, you're going single-family home now. I just heard
Well,
condos were going
yeah.
on with the,
You can,
Mr.
Mr. Chairman,
Wynn.
can I explain this
Yeah,
one more time?
Mr. Wynn.
the
Single
property's
family-
going to, the
these are-
property's going to be condominiums or something?
No, let me explain this. Single-family, these are going to be detached, single-family homes.
You were just talking about the garages a
Let me-
minute ago,
I didn't
saying that
talk-
the garages were going to be in a different location for condominiums.
Do you want an answer? Then stop.
Let me
Go ahead.
explain the situation. These will be detached, single-family homes, identical in terms of, well, not design, but they're detached homes, no different than what's on Devon Drive, Heatherwood, or Deanna Lane. They're sold as condominiums, but people think of condominium, there's often a thought that they're perhaps an attached unit. These are not attached units. These are detached, freestanding, single-family homes consistent with what's around them.
So why are they being sold as condominiums?
They're allowed to do that in the state of Michigan. We allow that, and the state of Michigan allows that. So how they convey the property is
It's your township, man. I moved out here because of, thinking you guys were a lot smarter than that, and you guys are being a joke. He's a sneak.
Mr. Chairman, we apply the same standards to condominiums as we do to the regular form of development. I've said that 3 times. I don't know how much more clear I can make it.
Starts developing.
Is there anyone else that has a question?
We got too much.
Anyone else? Going twice, 3 times? Okay, back to the board. There's a question of the petitioner on the drainage.
Yes.
Now, is the plan to drain all into the storm sewer that abuts the property? And then with whatever overflow to the,
There is a storm sewer located here
yeah,
that was designed to pick up a good portion of this property, but not all of it.
okay,
That's why we have to have the detention basin.
okay. And so what portion isn't designed, what wasn't designed for,
Well, probably the lower part down here.
so those two?
It was set up for approximately 2.9 acres to go that way, to go there. And the site, I think, is a little over 5. So you have to detain water for the difference between the two. And again, the trick is going to be getting it from down here up to the structure here. We'll be crossing the gas main someplace in here, I believe, to get that water up that way. There's enough depth to get it there. The trick is getting underneath the gas main at the same time. When I spoke earlier, I forgot to mention, we had met with the adjacent landowners. We had a slight meeting with them back in June. Presented the site plan and discussed problems with them at that time.
Okay. Thank you. Any
Chairman?
questions from the board? Mr. Turner?
Mr. Wynn, there is obviously a misconception about the word condominium, and I can tell you that single-family condos, you're not going to tell much of a difference between the individual condo and an individual home. It's just a form of ownership of the particular building. Just to allay any other confusion, one of the communications we had talked about the concern that granting a rezoning without a specific site plan, could be a misconception. We're talking about a rezoning here. Maybe you could explain how we go through the preliminary and the final on the condominium projects.
There's 2 steps to this process. The first is that we evaluate the layout of the lots and the road and drainage and those factors. And once we've identified that design works, then they have to go through and get all of their engineering approvals, not only from our engineer, but from our Department of Public Works, the state, the county. This is a public road, so it'll have to get Macomb County Department of Roads. Once they've obtained all those approvals, then they'll come back and we'll validate that those approvals have been completed, and then we'll approve it, and then they can start construction. So they're quite a ways away from that process yet. So we've really set up a parallel process, whether this was a subdivision or condo. Actually, we put 2 steps together versus the subdivision ordinance has 3 separate steps. So that was done about 20 years, or maybe 30 years ago. Developers found they could develop more quicker through the state with the condominiums, but not quicker through the township. It's the same process for us, just about. And overall, I think this design works really well. They're not rezoning the property. They've backed away from the rezoning because of the concerns that were expressed at that previous
And the
meeting.
size of the lots are the same size or even larger than the neighboring subdivision.
What's
So-
interesting is because I think Heatherwood, that subdivision was developed under our old ordinance. These lots, actually, the minimums are bigger and the setbacks are deeper. But having said all that, I think the one issue that I still have a little bit of concern with, I think Mr. Ballard hit it very, very well, is there another way to do this so we can avoid that? And I think this is a good plan and it's feasible. I just would like to make sure that we maybe sit down with Mr. Thompson and our engineer, because she's not here, and just look at those options and see if there's some feasible alternative. I think we could, do that and get them back on an agenda probably in 30 days.
Mr. Kirk.
Just wanted to explain the condominium. Everyone's concerned about that. In this case, the condominium is actually just the dirt. It's the lot. It's not a building. Everyone pictures a condominium as a structure, maybe a duplex or something. It's not. In this case, because it's being developed this way, the condominium is just the dirt. Instead of having lot 6, you have unit 6. The actual building, the structure is going to be a single-family home, just like anybody else's home. That's the only difference.
Let me give you an example. Otter Creek, which is, I think, a site just to the west of, or east of this, single-family homes, they were developed as condominiums. They were one of the first ones that we approved that way. So we just dealt with the parallel process. There are some people who tried to use that as a way of increasing density. We said, no, it's the same. So we just put a parallel process together. So it's nothing different than a normal single-family subdivision. It's just titled something differently.
All right, quick, last one. Go ahead.
Just for clarification, they're actually, what we're really looking at is 9 single-family homes, but you're calling it a condominium.
Correct.
Correct.
And because of the way a condominium concept is that there's going to be a management company that takes care of these properties for these people.
Well, typically that happens sometimes, but in these types, it's typically everybody does their own management. I mean, unless they structure
I
their.
just had that question. That
Yeah,
was
it's a really
piece
good
of property that has a width of X amount of feet and a depth of
9
X.
single-family
Right.
homes, but somehow it's getting tagged as a condominium.
Right.
Because the process is 1 year quicker.
Yeah.
And getting approval from the state.
Sometimes more than a year.
Yeah, quicker, yeah, no, that's true. Okay, if there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Casale.
a question to the petitioner. In regard to Mr. Ballard's concern about the parcel of property where the detention pond is going to be dug, he mentioned that 85% of that property is free of trees. And are you aware of that? And is the pond placed in that area that doesn't have trees?
The majority of the area that doesn't have trees is higher. So if it were to be developed with a pond in that area, it would be much larger.
So that's not,
It's really not real practical. And that particular corner is pretty much dead. I mean, you can't get access to it. You can see the two lots, 7 and 8, they have the narrowest frontage on the site. And to try to get another lot in there to use that land up, it's just not practical. So that's the best practical place to put it. How we can work around it, save as many trees as we can. You can see that we kept the north half of that is where we put the pond, leaving as many trees as we could in the south half. We pushed it as far west as we could practically do that, trying to save trees along the east boundary also.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Support.
By Dalu, support by DeSico. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, we may recommend this evening approval, disapprove the request, or table to evaluate the information further. This time I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Turner.
I move to approve the preliminary condominium plans for the Deanna Court Site Plan Number 15-35, subject to the submission of a revised plan addressing all department comments, including a new plan for stormwater management to maximize tree preservation.
Support.
Okay, moved by Turner, support by Apone. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Turner.
Yes.
Commissioner Apone.
Yes.
Commissioner Byer.
Yes.
Commissioner Dalu.
Yes.
Commissioner DeSico.
Yes.
Commissioner Bernardi.
Yes.
Commissioner Casale.
Yes.
Chair votes yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Next item is site plan number 15-36, PUD number 3, Domenico Bettina, PND Investments. Secretary, would you read the notice as public?
Yes, Charter Township of Shelby notice of public hearing. The applicant, PND Investments LLC, 49480 Van Dyke, Utica, Michigan, 48317. Proposed use is a commercial building. The location is Market Street, west side of Market Street, south side of Lakeside Boulevard. The Planning Commission will meet on Monday, August 24th, 2015 at 7 p.m. in the Shelby Municipal Building, 52700 Van Dyke, Shelby Township, Michigan, for the purpose of holding a public hearing on the site condominium application. The applicant for the planned unit development may be examined at the Planning and Zoning Department in the municipal building Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 5 p.m. Written comments may be submitted to the Planning Commission at the above address prior to the hearing. Oral comments will be heard during the public hearing. This notice is provided pursuant to the requirements of Michigan Public Act 110 of 2006 as amended. Shelby Township Planning Commission, Jerome Moffett, Chair, Raquel Moore, Secretary. 13 property owners and 2 applicants were notified by first-class mail on August 5th, 2015.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kirk, did the publication meet all legal requirements?
Yes, it did.
Okay, can you explain the uses under the present zoning and if this special land use request is appropriate?
The current zoning is our C5 district, which is kind of a multi-use hybrid type of district. It allows various uses. This use is a permitted use within that district, and this is the proper step in this process. Take a look at this portion of the.
Okay, thank you. Madam Secretary, did we receive any correspondence on this request?
No, we did not.
Okay. At this time, the format for the public hearing will be as follows. The petitioner or representative will give a presentation stating the reasons for the request. Commissioners may then ask questions of the petitioner. Floor will be open to the public, and then the petitioner may make concluding remarks. I see the petitioner's representative is here. If I could get your name and address for the record.
Certainly. Pete Snyder, Urban Land Consultants, 8800 23 Mile Road, Shelby Township.
See, we should have brought you up for this previous one and told you, on your lunch hour, you could walk down across and take a look at it.
Yeah. So I'm here representing the applicant on this particular project. As you remember, a month or two ago, we were in here for preliminary PUD on this property, the color drawing there on the lower with the residential and the commercial. I'm here tonight for asking for final PUD on only a portion of that portion being the purple, the commercial building. We're in the process of putting together final PUD application for the balance of it, all the residential, but as you can tell, it's a pretty big project and there's a lot of things we need to. I was just talking with the traffic engineer yesterday and today, and the landscape architect is working hard on it. So we're putting together a final PUD for the whole thing, and we sort of expect that to hit the planning and zoning office towards the end of September. But in the meantime, there's a particular user for the commercial building that's very excited to get in there, and they have about half of the space for one very excited user who they very much would like to get under construction. Of course, under this process, you need to get final PUD before you can do your engineering, get your building permit. So again, we're here just asking for final PUD on the commercial building itself. I've got a copy of the...
Yeah, why don't you put the elevation so nobody thinks we're approving a purple building. No. Here. Oh.
Is it not? There we go. Okay. So I'll leave this down here. Here's the black and white site plan of this particular building. Market Street's over here. There's an existing driveway here. There's a lot of mostly unused parking back here. The balance of the site up here is this right here. So again, it's 11,028 square feet of commercial. This is a colored rendering of the front. In your packets, of course, you got elevations of all 4 sides, as would be typical for this sort of a submission. So this is the building that we're asking final PUD. We're asking for final PUD on this. Again, it's already an independent piece of property. It's like 0.73 acres of property from here down. So that's what we're asking for action on tonight. So with that, if you have any questions, I'm certainly available.
Okay. main entrances off the rear sort of the building to the main parking, or?
Yes, actually, there's parallel parking, a little bit of it existing on Market Street now. We're putting in a little bit more here. We're also putting parallel parking in the rear because it's sort of a two-sided, it's almost a four-sided building, really. It looks good from all sides, and typical of some of the other buildings that are in that area farther down Market Street that have, essentially, they have two front sides. This is very typical for that area. They look good from both sides. They have entry doors from both sides. So
you don't own that parking lot?
this parking lot?
Yeah.
No, that's an adjoining. I'm
that's-
sorry, I misheard your question. That's
Okay.
I think there were, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I think when the original plan was approved, the original site plan, there were some easement agreements that are shared parking, and we did ask for a copy of those for the file because
Okay.
I remember that being the case.
Yeah, my concern would be, I hope your clients are quite successful in giving that parking that it's on your property, that may not be the case.
Exactly. They understand the situation. In fact, they brought it
So
up to me.
there are cross-agreement
There
agreements?
are already recorded reciprocal parking agreements between this piece of property that you're acting on and the larger property here and other properties in the Market Street overall development.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else questions? Okay, thank you. This is the only public hearing the Planning Commission will hold on this special land use request. All remarks will be entered into the record for Township Board evaluation. We are recommending body, and the Township Board will evaluate our recommendation, which is the legislative body. The Township Board will make the final decision on this special land use request. At this time, anyone from the audience is free to speak in favor, against, or offer their opinion. I would just need your to sign in and your name and address, please. I can wait. Just want to see if you're awake, Mr. Paul.
Hello, my name is Tom Temu with Hall & Hayes Investment, where the Costco, I own the building on the Costco parking lot. We share the same parking lot also. I'm happy to see that there's development going on, and I also own the property next to Costco, which is just north of my building. I heard I wanted to know who the user is going to be there, what type of user that's going to occupy more than half of the building. And also, where is that exactly going to be? Is it south of Lakeside?
Yeah,
On the west side of Market Street?
correct.
So there's existing parking lot
Behind the
behind
old Great
Sears?
Outdoors or whatever that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
right.
that's what it's going to be. Okay, so about 11,000 square feet?
Sort of a continuation of those commercial
Yeah.
buildings along Market that just.
Actually, I'm
yeah.
planning to do the same thing next to Costco, so,
Now, who his tenant is really not germane to the conversation, to the decision we're going to make this evening, but if Mr. Snyder wishes to share that with you or share that with you after the meeting, he's more than welcome to do that.
okay, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out what type of clientele we can bring there to that market, so that's all I wanted to know. But I'm glad it's going in.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Seeing none, once, twice, three times. Mr. Snyder, do you want to disclose?
Actually, I don't get to disclose that sort of thing. I'm just the lowly engineer. However, the applicant is in the audience, and certainly after the meeting, this is going to fall here.
Well, you got two mics, so.
This one's muted, so. But certainly after the meeting.
Okay, very good. Mr. Nguyen.
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of minor comments. One was getting a copy of that agreement. I know when that building to the south was reoccupied, there were some concerns about access and shared access, and there's some misunderstanding of who owns what and who has access to what. We'd like some streetscape details.
On that side of property? Are you kidding me?
No, but there's some question about, those agreements have been around a long time.
Yeah, I understand.
Streetscape amenities, lighting, and site plan details. Other than that, I'm fine with this. This, again, I agree with Mr. Temu. After all these years of seeing not a lot of development here, Mr. Temu took over the one building, breathed some life into it, which we're very grateful for. And, this is a similar opportunity. So it's nice to see finally all these plans come to fruition after almost 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still fighting for a traffic circle there, so. Any other questions for the petitioner? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Support.
By Turner, support by DeSico. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Our motion this evening must be based on the following: compatibility with adjacent land uses, consistent with and promote the intent and purpose of the special land use, compatibility with the natural environment, consistent with the capacities of public services and facilities affected by the proposed use, protect the public health, safety, and welfare, and the adequacy of public access to the site. This time, I'll entertain a motion to either recommend approval, disapprove the request, or table it. Mr. Byer.
I move to approve site plan application number 15-36, PUD 3 for the development of a new retail building subject to the submission of a revised site plan conforming to all applicable department comments.
Support.
Okay, moved by Vire, support by Pone. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Vire.
Yes.
Commissioner Pone.
Yes.
Commissioner Turner.
Yes.
Commissioner Dalu.
Yes.
Commissioner DeSico.
Yes.
Commissioner Bernardi.
Yes.
Commissioner Casale.
Yes.
The chair votes yes. Good luck. Good
Thank
luck.
you very much.
Planning Director's report.
The only thing I wanted to report is I invited our new associate planner, economic development coordinator, Jordan Greenman, to the meeting tonight. I think I've introduced you to him all, and Julie and I are really glad to have him on our staff, and we're making a lot of progress already.
Okay. Do you want to introduce him to the public and tell what his name is?
Well, Jordan Greenman.
My name is Jordan Greenman from West Bloomfield, Michigan. I did my undergrad at Central Michigan University, and I just graduated University of Michigan for my master's in urban and regional planning.
All right, very good.
Very well recommended.
All right, welcome
Thank
aboard. Look forward to it.
Next tough public hearing he's attending, I'm staying home.
Okay, if there's business from the floor, anyone wish to comment? Anything you want to talk about? No? Okay. Then I'll let Mr. Dalu.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Support.
Favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. I'm going to keep asking until you...